Agriculture Minister Zulfikar Mustafa has announced that an $8.5 billion project for the construction of a Hope-like canal in Region 5 will begin shortly as part of efforts to mitigate against flooding in the region, a problem that has been getting worse in the face of climate change. The minister was at the time engaging with residents of the Maikoni Creek at Gordon's Table, Upper Maikoni Creek, and at Rani's residence, Lower Maikoni Creek. The engagements were part of planned and ongoing outreaches by Minister Mustafa and his team for communities all across the country, meetings that allow farmers to interact directly with the Ministry of Agriculture on issues affecting them and their respective communities. In this most recent meeting, Minister Mustafa announced that in keeping with its stated commitments to the replication of the Hope Canal in Regions 3, 5 and 6, preparatory works of the Region 5 structure is now set to commence.
I want to tell you, only a few nights back, I had discussion with both the President and Vice President. Lionel was at that meeting. And we had instruction to start the preparation for the Hope-like Canal, and you will have that. Tomorrow in Parliament, we have Parliament tomorrow. We will have the appropriation for that sum to be appropriated. You know what appropriation? That sum will put aside from the Climate Change Fund to start the Hope-like Canal in Region 5. It costs us $8.5 billion. That is the cost that we will do that canal with. We'll start one in Region 5, Region 6, and then we'll spend another $50 million for the mangrove in Region 2. Three large projects for the agriculture sector.
Over the last year and a half, the National Drainage and Irrigation Authority, the Lands and Surveys, and the MMA ADA have been engaging with farmers and residents of the Abari, Mahika, and Maikoni Creeks in relation to arriving at the ideal placement of the Hope-like Canal and supporting structures, and as a result, a plan was arrived at. Explaining further the government's continuing investments in the agriculture sector in Guyana, Minister Mustafa said it's a question of ensuring food security, not only for Guyana, but for an entire region.
So all these funds are coming in, but why we are doing this? We are an oil and gas producing country now. And we could have said that, look, forget about agriculture, we will get money for oil and gas. But only a short-sighted government will do that. A government that doesn't care, like the previous government. You heard the regional chairman just talk. I don't know if Holder ever came into this area. But the point I am trying to make is that we see a future in agriculture. We have seen what has happened during the pandemic. We have seen many countries around the world that had large sums of money were unable to procure food for their population. Guyana, we are very fortunate that we are producing 60% of the food that we are consuming. But we are not satisfied with that as a government. We want to produce all the food. That is why I was instructed by the President that we have to go into new crops. The crops that we have been growing over the years, the traditional crops, things like rice, sugar, fruits, vegetables, yes, we have to expand on those. We have to expand on those because there are now opportunities for us not only in Guyana, but in the Caribbean. We are working to reduce the food import bill of CARICOM by 25% in 2025, in another 2 years from now. And if that has to be successful, then Guyana has to be successful. So what we are doing now, we are trying to produce more food. There are more opportunities for our farmers because today our produce are in demand in the Caribbean. Places like Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, the Eastern Caribbean country, who never want to trade with us before. They now want our produce. Trinidad and Tobago, when the Prime Minister came at the Isle Summit, I myself had discussion with Prime Minister Rowley. Today, they're importing rice seed from Guyana to start back rice production in Trinidad and Tobago. Only a few weeks back, ask GRDB. Barbados, we are now having our technical staff in Barbados working with them to develop their agriculture sector, develop their aquaculture sector. Who expected, who ever think a place like Barbados will do aquaculture? Barbados' economy is built on tourism, but they are looking for the long-term benefit. You can't sustain tourism. We have seen what has happened in the pandemic. When we had the pandemic, tourists never come to Barbados or continue to come to Barbados. So you have to build your economy, make it more resilient and strong, and do activity that can sustain your economy. That is why today everybody in the Caribbean, they are looking towards Guyana for that leadership. And we have to ensure that we give the kind of support to our farmers. And that is why we are making these budgetary allocation available.
Responding to concerns raised by farmers of the Maikoni Creek, Minister MUSTAPHA assured them that the issues raised would be addressed, including requests for help by farmers for an excavator be made available for works on their farms. He, however, pointed out that help for farmers must be provided in an equitable manner, ensuring that one set of farmers are not the only beneficiaries. Minister MUSTAPHA pointed to a list of beneficiaries of government help in this regard, a list in two parts. One half of the names of those farmers who have received help, and the others of farmers who are awaiting government help. While not calling names, he lamented that some of the names of farmers who have already received help appear again on the list of those who are awaiting help.
So when you request, and when you would have made all those requests that you need to get things done personally, yes, we will work with you to get it done. But at the same time, we have to work with the community. And many comrades who spoke just now, I have a list in my hand here. Their names are on this list, whose work were done between 2020 to now. I don't want to call a name to embarrass anyone, but I'm just saying. I got the amount of roddage, I got the name, the area the work was done, the type of work, and the cost of the work. That were requests that came directly from me, to me. Farmers who would have met with me when I came in here and said that, comrade, I want you to help me to do some work. And a comrade made a very salient point, that some farmers might get it twice or thrice. I can't say, because I give instruction. Lionel, who is head of the NDIA, I give him instruction, he will pass down the instruction. But we are not here all the time. That is why we need to report these things early, so that you don't wait until the president comes or the minister comes to say that Tom or Jones get work 4 times and Paul get work none time, although he was requesting all the time. We have to deal with this thing because you are the beneficiary. So when we send a machine here, we have maybe 4 pieces of machine in this area, across this area. When we send these machines, it's taxpayers' money. We have to make budgetary allocation. We have to ensure that we get quality work and people, many persons as much as possible, get the work done for them. Right? Look, for 2022, 140 persons had work done for them in their area. Their personal work, 140. To date, 2023 to date, for up to now, we got 78 persons. Already got work done. And then the president came in. Y'all remember the president visited this area, along the creek. And the president made some commitment. When he came, he said that we will do some work. And you know how much work, how much money was expended? $238 million was expended to do work that the president committed to. I'm just making this input for y'all to know what we have been doing. Sometimes people might not realize the work that has been that we are doing in this community. You might see the machine 1.5 times, but you don't know how much of work. And we got all the names and details here. We can go through it with the farmers. Some farmers who just spoke, names appear here. The commerce and circulation gave me. I wouldn't call it, but they're just telling you. Right? We have to be honest in our discourse. And then you have some other work which I have to approve here. You have 29 other requests. And some person who would have had work done and who came and made requests, their name is still here again for other work to be done.
A team of engineers from the NDIA are to return to the communities in the Maikoni River to conduct an assessment of what is needed in the short term to resolve some of the issues raised by the residents during the outreach.